Welcome to the One Show from Punjab Broadcasting Channel, based in West Bromwich in the West Midlands. This is our third One Show, and so far so good, Manjit. And
Definitely, yeah.
you know, we really want to thank the Punjab Broadcasting Channel for providing this platform, but also supporting us in hopefully bringing more progressive and challenging issues onto the channel. Wherever Sikhs have settled in the world, the first thing they do is they build a gurdwara. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, and then they have a fight and then they make two gurdwaras. ਚਲੋ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ. And initially they built gurdwaras in converted buildings, first even in houses, and then in derelict churches and places like that. But more recently Sikhs have been building these grand, beautiful gurdwaras. You know, in the UK you go to Leamington, you go to Gravesend, you go to Southall, and many other towns in Birmingham. You've got these beautiful, very expensive, multi-million pound gurdwaras, powerful institutions, and they are important. They are out. It's from there that everything else kind of happens. But in many of our adopted countries, the priority has tended to be focusing on the gurdwara, and rightly so, because when new communities come in, that's the first point of contact. But slowly, now that we're into the second generation, ਤੀਜੀਆਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੌਥੀਆਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਵੀ, ਪੰਜਵੀਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ, ਸਿੰਗਾਪੁਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, and inevitably ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਇੋਰਟੀ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਹੁਣ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ. They move into professions. Today Sikhs are in all professions, and ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ development ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਆ. Within those professions, Sikhs are beginning now to set up their own associations, professional associations. Yeah, but UK ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, City Sikhs has been established for many years. EY Sikhs have been very active. Sikh Police Association. ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਚ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਨਵੀਂ ਸੀ, Sikhs in Law. ਲੰਡਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੀ ਜ਼ਬਰਦਸਤ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੈਰੇਮਨੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ launch. British Sikh nurses have been around for quite a few years. And many years Sikh Doctors and Dentists Association. And of course we also have the British Organisation of Sikh Students, BOSS, which has been around for 20-30 years. So what we are seeing now is the opening up of new, what you could say, Sikh spaces. वैसे ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਹੀ Sikh space, ਪਰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ, we're not limited to those spaces. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ represent ਕਰਦਾ, ਤੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਣ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੜਦਾਦੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਸੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਆ, ਔਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਾਣ ਆ. ਸੋ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਐਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ. So in today's show we're going to be actually talking about another new development, a very very important development, a new Sikh institution if you like, and that is an organisation that's just set up now, which is called Sikhs in Academia. And we have some of the people who are involved in organising and developing this new initiative, and they're going to help us to learn a bit more about Sikhs in Academia and what we can expect in the next months and years to come. So I think we should introduce our guests, and then we'll get on with finding out more about this new development. So sab to pehla on my immediate right we've got Dr. Harjinder Singh Lally. He's Associate Professor and University Reader in Cyber Security at the University of Warwick, and he received his PhD from the university in the area of cyber attack modelling, and he's one of the leading scholars in the field of cyber security. So we're really privileged that Harjinder's with him. So Harjinder, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੀ ਆਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Next to Harjinder we've got Nimrata Kaur Bahia. ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਿੰਮ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਦਾ, and she's the course director and lecturer in childhood and youth studies, youth and education at Coventry University. She teaches across other undergraduate courses including counselling, coaching and mentoring and social work, and she's trained as a health psychologist and has worked in health promotion. And ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਖਦੇ ਆ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. And last but not least, ਸਾਡੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਬੱਚੀ Gitanjali Kaur Kambu. Gitanjali is a final year student, third year student in history and politics at the University of Warwick, and she tells me she's just finished her dissertation and handed it in this week, so everything's good. So welcome to you all, Gitanjali ji. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh. ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੱਸੋ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਨਵੀਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਕੈਡਮੀਆ 'ਚ, ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕਰੋ।
Okay, so around 4 years ago, this was just before COVID, a few of us were talking about setting up a network of Sikhs who are working at university, whether they're professors, researchers, lecturers, and even students, PhD students and undergrad, postgrad students. And the purpose of this was to give us an opportunity to network, but also to give voice to Sikh academia, because we are very, very underrepresented. Our achievements are very underrepresented. And we are not organised, we are not, we talk to each other informally, but we need formal mechanisms through which we can converse, through which we can communicate issues, and through which we can actually represent and lobby issues as well. So that's where it started. Us ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ it's been obviously COVID got in the way, and last April, May we resumed the discussion, and now we're really excited that we've got ahead of steam. We formed a committee, we have got our priorities and our agenda, if you like, organised, and we're ready to launch the network after such a long time.
Why is it so needed?
It's needed because, like I say, we are underrepresented in academia. We are. It's not the profession that a Sikh naturally chooses to go into. The natural professions tend to be, doctor, dentist, lawyer, optometrist, the typical kind of professions. And Sikhs don't think about academia as the venue in which to pursue their interests. So that's one problem that we have, as a result of which we are then very underrepresented, as a community. We're really well represented in law. We have judges, we have, very, very senior barristers. We are very represented in medicine and in every other profession. But in academia, out of the 200 or so universities, you will not find a single Sikh vice chancellor. You will not find, from what we've researched so far, I may be proven wrong, and I hope I am proven wrong, you will not find a single pro vice chancellor from a Sikh background. So at the highest echelons of academia, we are not represented there. We don't have a voice at those tables. In fact, if we have had to, between us, me, Nim, and everyone else in the committee, we've had to dig very deep to see if we can even find a dean.
That is shocking to hear.
That is shocking, and we weren't so aware of this problem until we started to do the research, and then we thought, hold on, this is a lot worse than we thought.
Can I just bring in Nim here, because Nim, I mean, we're talking about Sikhs in academia. Does that mean that we're talking about Sikh academics, or are we talking about anybody who works in academia? Because as you will know, in academia, academics may be 50% of the staff, but we've got so many other staff as well in the university.
I think when we're talking about Sikhs in academia, and if we are pledging to be inclusive, that includes not only those in teaching roles, administration, research, those who might be part of leadership structures, so equality, diversity, compliance. ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਚ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਰੋਲ ਸਿਰਫ ਟੀਚਿੰਗ ਜਾਂ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਤੱਕ ਸੀਮਿਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ,
ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਦਾਰਾ।
ਪਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ 'ਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਰੋਲਸ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ, ਐਂਡ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਇਨ all of those roles, as Baji shared, we are underrepresented. So for me it's about everyone who occupies that space.
ਮੈਂ ਵੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਵੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੇ। ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ when I was an undergraduate, ਉਦੋਂ 6% ਸੀ population ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ। In fact, I felt like a bit of a freak in the university because, working class Sikhs were just not, they were...
But you shouldn't feel like that.
Well, you shouldn't. Things have changed. But because over the last 20 years, there's been a massive expansion. Kafi higher education institutions बहुत develop हो गई हैं. 50% ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ university ਜਾਂਦੇ students. ਤੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਂ ਦੋ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਆਫਟਰ ਦਾ ਸਿਟੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਜਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਹੋਵੇ these are institutions that employ thousands of people, have thousands of students. So they really belong to the community. And I think, Gitanjali, you might want to come in there and say, these institutions are not just about sitting in a lecture theatre and being spoken at, are they?
No.
Because that's how people think.
Yeah, that's their perception, yeah.
University is really diverse in the sense of you meet lots of different people and you have these societies as well who enhance your university life. So I'm part of the Sikhs Society at University of Warwick, and it just helps you develop as a person, not only academically but also personally. So you learn cooking, you learn how to just become someone, and you elevate in who you are from before going to university to after.
They've become Sangat spaces.
So what,
Go on, finish on them.
Yeah, they've become Sangat spaces, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
They have their Sangat from Sangat. So they're your Sangat outside your normal
Yes.
local Sangat.
and I think that's very important.
And that is important, isn't it, for
Yeah.
students, especially when you go away from home, is that you want to have some sense of belonging,
Exactly.
yes, with your fellow Sikh students, yeah?
Yes, especially going to a university where there's different people from different backgrounds and different countries, it can be hard to find those people who you feel like you can relate to. So having the Sikh societies and now the Sikhs in academia, it's a nice space to know that there are other people who understand your background, other people who understand your lifestyle as well.
I also, one other experience is, as a lecturer myself, when I'm lecturing and some Sikh students are in the class, and afterwards they come up to me and say, "Sanu bahut maane hum sada."
Makes you feel at home.
It
You
does.
can connect with someone.
It does,
yeah.
but when I was at university, there were very, very, very few. I mean, if there are few right now,
Yeah.
but at that time, you couldn't find any Sikh faces at university. So you did feel much more alienated than they do now, and we want to change that.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I've got a confession to make. When I never used to go to graduation ceremonies, I just felt that these were a bit pompous and aloof. But then some of our students were saying, look, we want you to be there because when we go into the cathedral, all we see is a sea of white academics. And our parents and families are there, and we feel that
It's important to include
having
yourself.
you there just makes it even more special. And I'm thinking about that just yesterday when we had Prince Charles, King Charles, and when Lord Inderjeet Singh came and handed him the right glove.
Yeah.
That was amazing that we had a Sardar, and so I think being visible and connecting, it's really important, isn't it, Nim? That kind of, I'm sure you have that interaction with students as well.
Yeah, I think if you look at a lot of the research and you listen to student narrative, similar to what Gitanjali has shared, is students want to see themselves in the curriculum, but also in the faces.
In the staff. But in the staff.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to see that representation. I think it's inspiring for them and it's empowering. So it's really important to acknowledge that where we can.
So just want to come to you. It's about what sort of challenges did you have as a student? What sort of challenge did you go through?
As a Sikh student, particularly. Yeah.
So I started in the COVID year of university. So first of all, I was online. I was sitting with my mum, having more cha with mum than I was with other students, and it was an interesting time, and I think we tried our best to have as much experience as possible. But one thing that was quite challenging is you didn't have that support, especially from the first essays and first kind of academic work you do. In a university level, it can be quite challenging and scary. Bave Bella essay to final dissertation now, there's always that element of not knowing or not sure who to go to. University has great resources available, but sometimes you need someone external. That's how Sikhs in academia can come in and support their Sikh students as well, to have that resource and have that availability, so students can go to an academic in their university or not, and just really have that higher access to resources that they might not want to ask the university or might not know how to ask their university staff who might not understand the topics or issues that they want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, having I'm not saying other faces aren't friendly, but having a friendly face that you can relate with, makes all that difference.
Well.
But the other thing I just want us to remember is that we have a lot of students coming from the Punjab. They have very different life circumstances. They have very different backgrounds. They've come to a very foreign academic culture, and they, from all accounts that I hear, and I've been hearing them for 20 plus years, they feel completely lost in the first few
mental
months.
Health is a big issue as well for students.
And seeing a Sardar on campus, the number of fatehs and sasrikals I do in the first 2-3 weeks of term, when they see that we can relate with this chap, it makes a big difference. And I think we need to do more. We need to do more than just say hello to them. We need to do more to support them and help them settle.
And Harjinder, there's a really important connection here, because ਜਿਹੜੇ international student ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸਿਰਫ ਸਿੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ, ਹਿੰਦੂ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਦੂਜੇ. A lot of them actually go to the local gurdwara, to do seva and to have langar and just to feel a sense of belonging, because ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਾਹਰਲੀ country, when you're in another strange country, that's the first thing. We do that, don't we? We go somewhere on a holiday. We were in Canaries a few months ago, and I was saying, "Ithe kade gurdwara dekhiye kade tu te langar chakhan jana hona." But I didn't know, but in Lanzarote there are 3 gurdwaras.
It's shocking, you wouldn't think of
So
that, would you?
and the student, there were Sikh students, Spanish Sikh students, who used to go to the Gurdwara. So that's the important connection, isn't it, Nim, between the Gurdwara and the university?
Absolutely. I mean, mera jada recent experience reh chukya, in my class of say 60 students, I will have had 12 nationalities represented. And I had 2 students from the Punjab. And they approached me at the end of the session, and they were quite tentative in speaking to me in English, and I spoke to them in Punjabi. My response was in Punjabi, and actually
I bet they just relaxed, didn't they? Instant relief. But again, what I was hearing from them is it's a huge transition when you're coming from another country to the UK, and university life is...
It's a big change for them.
It's a huge change.
Totally different world for them as well.
So I suppose the Sikhs in academia, they are part of our constituency. They are part of the group that are part of our network. And our network is very diverse. They're academics, professors, researchers, students, who are both undergrad, postgrad, international, local, and then all the admin support who often don't have a voice. Who don't have a voice in academia. They don't have a voice. They, not many people represent them, so that they're all part. So when you look at it that way, we've got a very, very big constituency of colleagues that represent.
Hope to achieve?
What we want to do, and jump in, wherever you can. But what we want to do is we want to bring focus to the achievements of Sikhs in academia, and we want to help them progress in academia, whether it's a student who's at that stage where they're looking for jobs and they need CV support and they need mentoring and they need coaching, whether it's a PhD student who is preparing for a Viva. And we've been planning PhD conferences, for example, and enable PhD students to deliver their Viva to us as a panel. So they have that practice, they get that feedback, and when they walk into their actual Viva, they are prepared. So we want to help them as well. But so academics,
there's a lot of support for them.
That's it. Look, when we put out the call, and we sent out emails to hundreds of academics. I was absolutely delighted emotionally at the response that I got. Everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to help. There are professors, Sikh professors saying, I want to help coach, I want to help other colleagues, I want to do this, I can do this, and the response has been so warm. But let's just come back to what we want to achieve. So we've got early career academics. One of them's in our committee who's just joined academia, and they want guidance on how to progress. They're starting off as lecturers, and ultimately they want to become professors, if not go beyond.
Absolutely.
How do they navigate through those promotion processes?
Absolutely.
We've got people in our network who've not yet published a paper, but we've also got people in our network who have published in the best journals in the world.
Uh-huh.
So why can't, you know, what we want to do is support them and get them published.
Can I ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ culture ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, because we hold things like occupations like doctor or lawyer or
these titles.
academic professors in high esteem. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੋ. We think that these are all powerful people. You know, they have power, but I'm sure Harjinder, I mean, you know, my experience is that Sikh professors, Sikh senior scholars have been reduced to tears in academia just because of the discrimination and racism. And I know we haven't got any data on the exact kind of proportion of but there's enough anecdotal evidence to suggest that there's a real need to support Sikh academics against that kind of experience as well, isn't there?
So what we have is, I can't remember, Gurnamsi, whether it was the research that you did which showed that if you're a BAME academic, you have to work 1.5 times as hard to get to the same place as a white counterpart. Yes, you have to work much harder, right? And now, that is not just anecdotal, but we're also seeing that data. Now what we're also seeing is, I don't know if you've heard of the student attainment gap. What that means is that
Punjabi, I'm sure that the parents would want to know about that.
Absolutely. So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡੇਟਾ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਆਈ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਲੈਕਚਰਰ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੋਰੇ ਲੈਕਚਰਰ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਐਫਰਟ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ ਉਸੇ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ. So we have to work harder. ਜਿਹੜੇ student they come in with the same grades as their counterparts. These are BAME students, black, Asian, minority, ethnic, you know, we're including all of them. But when they get to the end of their degree, quite often they're a classification lower. That's it. So this is data that we're seeing, and what we're interested in knowing is how does this apply to Sikhs coming into academia? Does it apply to Sikhs?
Well, one of the things I wanted to sort of echo that's been already said is that one of the primary aims is absolutely to appraise and acknowledge ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ youngsters ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਯੋਗਦਾਨ ਰਹਿ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ academia ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, we have a duty or a responsibility to acknowledge that. Let's give that value. And the second part is that we need to pool the expertise together. And from my experience, मैं साਰਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੀ, I'm trying not to generalize, but I think not only being a Sikh, but जो तुसी एक औरत हो के that intersection of gender and faith, there's an additional challenge in progressing in academia.
Do you think there's an additional challenge for Sikh girls particularly who go away from home because of the kind of pressures from home, as well as maybe pressures in university to behave in certain ways?
I think there are
like the parents' roles, what the parents' roles are as well.
I think they're battling two aspects. I think one is the cultural expectations of females.
You see, all that pressure's been put on the girl.
So there's a ceiling to how far they can go or that they're permitted to achieve and aspire for. But then also within university spaces, they're perhaps masking who and what they really want because of the low expectations, the stigmatization. I'm sure Gitanjali might be able to shed more on that.
You're not talking about yourself here. We don't. But you will pick up these experiences. Are there students who feel like they're living a dual life almost at uni?
I think definitely there are some students who have go to university very unsure, very not knowing, is this the right thing for me? So having other academics to speak to is really useful to kind of get that understanding of, is this the right path for me? Because university isn't for everyone. But also, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ international students ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ full-time job ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ the finances they need
so
is really
they've got to work and they have to study.
They
that's have 2 in 1. That's acquired.
A
lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure on them, and they feel like, I know a few students who work full-time or work more hours and potentially they're allowed to work because they need the finances. And so
do the parents know about this, that they're working and they're studying?
I think
do they understand?
I think sometimes bataya, but it's not said directly.
There's another added dimension. look, you know, studying is not easy.
No, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
So often ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਾਰਕਸ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਫੇਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ
Exactly.
ਉਹ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਲਾਏ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ so they can get
It's
into really serious, I mean, up to suicidal kind of thoughts, can't
Exactly.
they?
But this is why I'm saying we need to understand
What's going on, yeah.
what's going on over there, right? We just accept that sorry, India to what they are, part they are, right? But we don't actually realise what they're
What's
going
going
through.
on, yeah.
But not just them, but our own UK students.
Yeah.
When they come away from home, there's a lot of quite often there can be a lot of anxiety in that first term. They are trying to fit
They're
in.
just trying to put their feet
That's it.
to
Yeah.
get used to everything, the environment, you know, about living, where they're going to live, where they're going to have food, when, and all these things, and the accommodation.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that the network wants to achieve is create a space that allows you to voice the challenges of that intersection. So what are they? And let's highlight those and see if we can support each other in that space.
Actually, we've got a call from somebody. She's part of the Sikh Doctors and Dentists Association, who is Parminder Kaur. She actually contacted me because she found out about this development, and she was just so inspired by that, and she just wanted to share her thoughts. So, Parminder, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਆਖਦੇ ਆ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ।
ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਕੀ ਆਸਾਂ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਵੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਆਸਾਂ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਆ?
ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਆਈ ਵਿਸ਼ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ 25-30 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ
ਜੀ
ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਰਿਟਾਇਰਡ ਆ ਪਰ ਦਿਸ ਬੀਨ ਅ ਬਿਗ ਗੈਪ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਕੱਲੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਰੋਟੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਟਾ ਖਰੀਦਣਾ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਲਾਇਬ੍ਰੇਰੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਵਾਟਐਵਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਯੂ ਵਾਕਿੰਗ ਅਲੋਨ ਇਨ ਦ ਕੈਂਪਸ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਪਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਵੀ ਹੋਸਟਲ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਥੋੜਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਦੇਅਰ ਅਪਸ ਐਂਡ ਡਾਊਨਸ ਕੋਈ ਆਈ ਵਿਸ਼ ਕੇ ਮੈਂਟੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਮੇਰੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਐਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਟੂ ਮੀ ਇਟ ਗਿਵਸ ਅ ਸਟੈਂਪ ਦੇਖੋ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੇਗਾ ਔਰ ਖਾਣਾ ਵਾਣਾ ਅੱਛਾ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪੈਕ ਵੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਸ ਵਿਲ ਬੀ the official thing and it will put a stamp ਕਿ ਬਈ ਇਹ parents ਨੂੰ reassurance ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਈ ਫਲਾਣੀ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਫਲਾਣੀ ਮੈਂਟੋਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੀ look after ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ
ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਔਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੋ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪਰਮਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ ਫਰਮ ਦ ਸਿੱਖ ਡਾਕਟਰਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਣਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ 25 ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ 25 years too late anyway better late than never but often the need for something is determined by the kind of demand people are making and I know that Haji Hari Shurumni Kita and you've had people from across the world contacting you.
Yes, so let me just touch on one thing. I wish this was around 25 years ago when I started and you and me, Gurnam Singh, we were pretty much, I'd say, not quite self-guided. We did get a lot of support in our faculties and everything, but having a network like this, people that I can go to and bounce ideas from would have been so much useful. Right?
I wouldn't have gone grey so quickly had
Look, I hasten to add, I don't know if our careers would have progressed much faster in different ways if we had had that support and mentorship, right? So let's just come back. So we have had registrations from India. Wow. Loads of registrations from India. We've had the USA, Canada predominantly, and so I won't reveal right now where we've got to with that, but honestly it is unbelievable the amount of support and they want to do the same but they don't want to create yet another organisation. What they want to do is they're saying look you've already got this set up now, let's work together because you know we can learn from you, you can learn from us and that's where we're at. So to answer your question, The response globally has been tremendous, right? But in the UK, it's been absolutely fabulous as well.
Yeah. So what I mean, we've got
just wanted to touch
just
on
much
one
before that,
point.
we've just got 20 minutes left. Yeah.
Right.
So if you किसी ने call करनी है, if you want
बिल्कुल
to
जी।
come in with a brief, if you've got a question or a comment, just brief. We'll take calls as well. हाँ जी मुझे.
Jinder ji, I just wanted to ask you, उन्होंने mention किया था भैन जी ने, she said about the Gurdwara. Now, in which way can the Gurdwara help
work with
the
us.
students?
Yeah.
I know the langar is there, that's part of it, and that's fine. But what
about the Sikhs in academia?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's not just the Gurdwaras. I mean, we were talking about this earlier on. We want to work across with every organisation we can, not just the Gurdwara.
So it's not just the Gurdwara.
One of the things that I got approached with is, so are you going to be organising Sikh lectures and langar on campus? And we said, no, we're not.
No, you're not.
Because
you've got boss.
The groups that are doing that are doing it really well.
Because other people are doing it out there. Yeah.
Exactly. And we want to work with them. This is where our problems start, right?
Yeah.
So capitalise on all the organisations that are there, leverage all those contacts and those networks. That's what we want to do. And it's the same with the Gurdwara.
And just on that one, शायद दर्शकों को पता होगा कि नहीं, आजकल there's networks of what you call Sikh chaplains. In the NHS there are Sikh chaplains और जाते prison service ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ Sikh जाते ਆ. And hौली ਹੁਣ universities ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ Sikh chaplains ਹੋਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਆ. In fact, King's College, I think, in London, they've actually got a paid Sikh chaplain now recently, yeah. But mostly, क्योंकि Church of England ज़्यादा support करते, they're voluntary. So Harjinder was a Sikh chaplain at Warwick University until recently. I won't reveal who replaced him, but you can guess. So the role of Sikhs in academia is not like a religious role as such, is it?
No, it's not. This is where we've got to be clear. We're not fulfilling a religious role. Like I said, we're not planning to organise Sikh lectures and
It's not about the subject. It's more about the identity
and support
and having that sense of community and belonging
I think that's very
relating.
Important.
That's important. And again, to emphasise what Harjinderji said is, we don't want to step on toes.
No, you don't. That's the last thing you want to do.
You know, this is about pooling that resource together.
Okay. Yeah, we've got another call on. So let's take the next caller. Ji. Haan ji, Waheguru ji ka khalsa. Waheguru ji ki fateh. Hello ji.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਭਾਜੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਜੋਗਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕੁਆਂਟਰੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਆ
ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਨਿੱਜਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ
ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਟੱਕਰਿਆ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਰਾਮਗੜੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਆ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ opinion ਜਾਂ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਮਿਸਲੈਡ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਭੇਜ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਏਜੰਟ
ਜੀ
ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਫੀ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ 20-30 ਲੱਖ ਅਗਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਵੀ ਵੇਸਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਕਾਰਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਕਾਰਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਇਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦੇਖਦੇ 20 ਘੰਟੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਰਾਮਗੜ੍ਹ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਵੀ ਹੰਡਲੈਂਡ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਵੀ ਲੈਸਟ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੱਕਣ ਸਿੱਖ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਵੀ ਚੱਕਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਭਾਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਦ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਿੱਧਾਨੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਦੂਜੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ 2-3 ਆਫਿਸਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਹਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਏਜੰਡਾ ਚੱਕਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲੇ ਵੀ ਆਹ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਲੀਡ ਆ ਆਉਣ ਲਈ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਏਜੰਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੋ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਾ ਵੇਸਟ ਕਰੋ
ਨਿੱਜਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਡਿਸਪਲੇ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਾਂ ਦੀ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਹੈਲਪ ਹੋਵੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲੇ ਵੀ ਜਦ ਏਜੰਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਆਪ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਭੇਜ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੋਰੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਪੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ
ਨਿੱਜਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਵਾਨੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਮੈਂ ਹਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਕੋ ਸੋ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਅਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਨੈਕਡੋਟਲ ਐਵੀਡੈਂਸ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ maybe that could be one of the first things we could pick up is the kind of experience of students here and how we can support them.
Absolutely. That was a really good comment that Yoga Singh made. So Galitaya, there's 4 people in our network at least who are Gallo international officers. Matlab ki I'm going out next Thursday to India. I'm there for 12 days. Da mera utte function hai here these are students who've got offers at Warwick. They're coming to these conferences we've organised, right? Then in November I go out to the exhibitions with our international team. I know the market really well. We've got a few more who know it really well. The sanu pata hai
That's important.
there are agents who are absolutely corrupt and you should not go near them with a barge pole. But there are also agents that are very trustworthy. That jere utthon han sochde the UK
But who can you trust? That's the question.
If they're thinking of coming to the UK to study, sanu kede kol jana chahida, kidda karna chahida, we should be able to support them as a network so that they do not make wrong decisions, right? Because we know all the stories, the horror stories of going to agents, paying hundreds of thousands of rupees, fake
and
agents.
Know where to eat and buy things.
And they actually have no university to go to. They have nowhere to stay. And we saw it about a few years ago. They were living on the streets.
Exactly.
These are our students, right? These are Sikh students.
Story.
Right.
ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਵੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਸੀ let's get Gitanjali in here. I mean you're going to be finishing university soon, and I know you're going to go into teaching, but ajkal koi bhi tusi profession jane, there's always what you call CPD, continuing professional development, and what kind of mentorship do you think the academics could give you in terms of thinking about your further education? Because they're even saying nowadays with ChatGPT and all these new AI and chat, actually there is no such thing as one linear career. You will often have different careers. So what kind of thoughts do you have as to how people like us as professors can actually support undergraduate students in terms of their own development?
So I think the unique thing about Sikhs in academia is that they're able to provide this support that your university potentially can't. So like we were saying about representation earlier, most of our university lecturers look one particular way, and that's they have quite a privileged background. They are usually white or European, and they're usually male, and so having academics, whether in your university or not, and that they have a similar background to you, means students like myself and others can feel represented and aspire to having these careers. So if I didn't see academics who had a core in her name, or who are from Punjab or from India, I wouldn't feel like I could go into these careers because no one's done it before. And jida tusi kende si ki je network 25 saal pehle hunde si, you have these connections, you have these people you can speak to. So je main master degree karna te mainu pata nahi ki main kidda karna, kaun puch lama, main thanu sare puch sakti, and I can ask, and who can support you outside of your university. And I think Sikhs in academia is a great place to start, and they can send you and connect you to other people.
That's a great point, because often what I do, I get lots of emails from undergraduate students from around the world, Punjabi students, particularly from India, saying, well, you may PhD karni hai, and often they're in a field that I don't know about. But there's a need there, isn't there, Harjinder, just to connect people up.
So we've got the data, and our representation in the postgraduate research community as Sikhs is the smallest out of all the faith groups. And this is official HISA data, which we'll share at the conference on the 10th of June. And so point being that we haven't got enough Sikhs getting into postgraduate research, either as PhD students or doctoral fellows or just research fellows. So one of the things that we're aspiring to do is to set up a PhD scholarship scheme, not one but a few if we can, where we can get groups to fund the PhDs, and we can try and get more Sikhs into academia that way. But the other thing we want to do...
So those are the activities you're going to get in?
Yeah, so this is amongst the group of activities that we want to get into. Obviously, look, we've got lots of ideas. We've just formed. We've got lots and lots of ideas. We need to prioritise over the next year in terms of what is the most important. But the other big one is promotion support. Supporting our colleagues who are going for promotion, lecturer to senior lecturer to principal and so on. And looking over their applications and giving them feedback, right? And saying, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Reword this way, do this that way. And just helping them, because every single Sikh in academia who gets promoted as a result of this is a huge win for our network, right?
Oh,
Every single one of them, right? The other big kind of thing we want to do is to help with kind of, disciplinary support. This is a very dark subject in that students go through disciplinaries, staff go through disciplinaries, and they need representation.
But they're subject to much more levels of surveillance, Nim. There's lots of research that if you're minority staff or students, you're most likely to be subject to surveillance, and you're more even in things like, say, plagiarism or whatever, there's a higher proportion of non-white students. So that in itself takes its toll, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
that's something that's a big concern, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, I sit on sort of a panel within the institution I represent, and I can categorically say that 90% of the cases that I see that make it to academic conduct are from students from BEMA groups. That's not to make a generalisation, but it's just looking at the facts of what we're dealing with.
Well, you can see, I mean, it may well be that those students, particularly if they're coming from India, because, in India there's a kind of culture of, rote learning and then reproducing word for word. So they might not know about plagiarism, but also, you've got your AI, ChatGPT, and there's so many ways in which you can generate essays.
But I think that's where the gap is. There is nobody that they can talk to about how do I mitigate these things, and I think that's where our voice needs to be present.
And of course, I've done research in this. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਿਡਲ ਕਲਾਸ ਗੋਰੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਆਫਟਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ
ਹੈਲਪ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ
ਹੈ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਹੁਣ 6000 ਮੀਲ ਤੇ ਆਇਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਤੋਂ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਾਂ-ਬਾਪ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਗਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਚੈੱਕ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ
So ਇਦਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਇਦਾਂ ਆ look you get students I have spoken to students I don't know how many of I was Sikh faith advisor at the university so I had loads coming to me then but also just because I'm known I get students contacting me saying I've been called into a disciplinary over this this is what the issue is I'm really anxious I don't know what's going to happen to me and they just want someone to advise them on
so we could give them like a helpline maybe a contact
that's it
they could speak to somebody anonymously or
absolutely and look we are there in the university we live there we breathe there this is our full-time job we know the processes and the systems and we know we're not trying to deliberately get them out off the hook or anything we just want to advise them and help them navigate what can be very anxious kind of times.
What other challenges have you faced to go forward sort of?
So far I have to say maybe it's a honeymoon period for the network. We haven't really faced any challenges. If anything, all we've had is just support, wholesale support. Like the call we've just had from Parminder Kaur. Everyone that I'm speaking to who is slightly older is saying, I wish this was around 25 years ago. And I've spoken to a whole load of Sikh societies over the last... they've seen our Instagram and they've reached out.
So there's been a lot of feedback.
And they're saying, Sikh societies are saying, can you help us? Can you help us set some training up on this?
That's really good news,
Can you help us with this? And I've had a whole bunch of students who want to become reps. So honestly, it's just been, it's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, okay. We've got another call. Let's just take the next call. Hanji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa. Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Hello ji.
Hanji, Waheguru Khalsa Fateh.
Paji, swagat ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾਮ ਦੱਸੋ ਤਾਂ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ?
Gram Sangha, Quinter Sangha from University of Wolverhampton.
Oh, so hi, thanks for ringing in, Hanji. What would you want to say about this development?
No, I think the important thing is we talk about the attainment gap, the continuation gap, and obviously everything else. But I give the focus is obviously on race and ethnicity, and the biggest challenge is that we're not monitored. Obviously, work at the University of Wolverhampton and where we collect the data and the analysis. You can't do the analysis from a Sikh perspective. What we can try and do is correlate the information in terms of those that tick the box for Indian.
Well, he said this collects data on religion now, doesn't it? So they published it last year.
No, everybody, they do, but the problem is that the attainment gap. It's really focused on payment, race and ethnicity. So I think that's a challenge for us. I just wanted to throw that in.
So, while you're on, if I can just ask you something, because you're obviously very active in Sikh organisations, and right at the beginning of the show, I said that when we think about Sikh spaces, we just think about the four walls of the Gurdwara. Now, Sikhs are everywhere, and if we want to advance our Qawm, our faith, our religion, then we need to be able to connect in all these spaces, yeah?
No, definitely.
And particularly in academia, because in some sense it's academia that produces the judges, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, activists and everything, isn't it? So if we can get it right there, then we can have a much stronger influence in institutions and in power.
No, I totally agree with you. But apne problem hai na bhi.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, so I was going to say problem apne hai that we academic staff apne ko hai gaya. That there's that gap between academics and activists. Sometimes academics do some brilliant work, but until you put that work into pragmatic perspective at the grassroots, so I think the gap between activists and people working at the grassroots level, it needs to be closed.
So
academia have that research and that information that can be used at the grassroots level.
But can I push back on that? Because I think the problem is, because very few of our academics are in working in this field, then the government goes to the same people for all the answers, yeah? So if we can expand, make our base much broader. And the other thing is that activism, often academics are engaged in all kinds of activism, but it might not be under the label of Sikh activism, but it still affects Sikhs as well. As you know, my work isn't really about Sikhs, it's about racism in higher education. So I think we also need to appreciate that activism can happen in different ways.
Activism takes many forms. When I was at the University of Derby...
just come back
before I finish.
Yeah, go on then.
I think the important thing is what you guys are doing, setting up a network. And, I've obviously come into academia recently, and I think we've got some great guys working in academia, but they're not connected. So I think the network is a brilliant idea.
Okay. And will you be coming to the Warwick launch on the 10th, yes?
I've got no choice now.
He's already registered.
All right, so thanks for ringing up, and we'll connect with you.
Sukha's already registered for the conference.
Very quickly. Sukha's registered already.
He has registered. So look, the thing is, when I was at the University of Derby, one of the problems we had there, and I'm not demeaning the institution in any way, but we were quite conscious that there was a gap in terms of BEMA groups in management.
Right.
And I campaigned for this. I was the chair of the union for 8 years when I was at Derby. And we campaigned for this, and we set up a race equality group, and we met regularly, and we forced the institution to look at itself. That's activism, right? And that's what our network wants to do on behalf of the Sikh community that exists.
I just want to appeal to ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਮੇਟੀਆਂ ਵਾਲੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਬੋਡੀਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਪਲੇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਕੈਡਮੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਟਿਵ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣੇ ਆ
ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੇਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ
ਸਪੋਰਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਔਰ we need to really expand our horizons now ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ we have to look at the whole picture.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll give you another example. ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਲੋ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਰ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸ਼ੈਲੀ ਹੁਣ ਰਜਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਆਪ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਇੰਨੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਨਸਟਰੂਮੈਂਟਸ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਰੇ
so we need to get the gurdwaras to refocus some of their energies. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think the gurdwaras need to be aware that we are there. And in their local community they are getting Sikh students coming to their gurdwara and they're coming with issues. At least they now know there's a Sikhs in academia network ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ connect ਕਰੋ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ support ਕਰਨਗੇ ਹਨਾ that we can collectively give our time.
What's the feedback, what's the kind of for the gurdwaras if they support the network, what will they get back from the network?
I think there's a few things. By raising the profile, they not only have a seamless way of signposting, but you'll get a better buy-in from our young generation.
Back into the gurdwaras,
Absolutely, because they'll be able to see that you are supporting a mechanism that supports them in their aspirations.
I mean, Gitanjali, that's a really important point because there's a lot of research saying that young Sikhs from about the age of 16 become disconnected to the Gurdwara.
They do, yeah.
Isn't this another way to reconnect them?
Reconnect them.
is.
You know, people like yourself.
Yeah, so I myself am part of the Warwick Sikh Society and I've been part of the exec team for 2 years, and it's so beautiful to have the Sangat there, especially when you're in lectures, seminars with lots of different people. It's that representation that you have with your own community, and having Sikhs in academia as a group to go to is another form of representation, because whilst we do kirtans and we do talks at university about mental health, about Sikhi, about connecting back to Sikhi through education and through your lifestyle, it's another way of seeing how you can progress in British society. And without Sikhs in academia, these issues that we face, so the diasporas of Sikhs in the UK, we don't have the research and we don't have the academics behind it, because we think we're not represented or we think we can't do it. So this organisation allows us to show that we are part of the British community, but we're also our own representatives
And
as well.
Haj, I mean, you know, we spend a lot of effort bringing in Kirtaniya from India
Wasting
into the
that
Gurdwara.
money as well.
Well, it's not wasted, but I mean, there are so many homegrown young Sikhs now.
Nojwan kinne hain.
We should be opening
This is
up
what I'm
the space.
saying,
Absolutely,
that we
yeah,
should
so-
concentrate more on.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I don't want to kind of go on
We'll do a
tangent,
separate
but-
show on that
Yeah.
one.
Absolutely, but let me just focus on two things. Number one, if you are coming, so I'm just speaking directly to the audience now, right? If you are an academic or you're in academia, please connect with us. www.sikhsinacademia.org. Just go onto that website. The membership form, the launch program link is all there. Please connect with us. Be part of our network and support us. That's the first thing. If you are a student right now, or you are coming into academia next year, so you're going through A levels. Good luck. May the Guru bless you. So we wish everyone luck with their A levels, and we hope you get your grades and you get to the university of choice. But when you get there, please connect with us, right? Because we are there to support you. So that's the first message I want you to give. Yeah. The second is that we have a launch on the 10th of June. And we are extremely excited about this launch, right? We've got so many of our, network appearing there. We've also got invited organisations coming. So Sikhs in Law are coming. The Doctors Association are going to come. And the reason why we want them there is because we all want to learn from each other. We want to learn from Sikhs in Law. We want to learn about how they're organising themselves and so on.
Yeah, so we are now, we've run out of time, so we can't really get any final summing comments, but I just want to say a couple of things. The Punjab Broadcast Channel, ਜਿਹੜੀ channel ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਨਵੀਂ channel ਆ, it's only recently started. And, it's amazing that they're supporting us. In fact, I'm thought that when we have these type of programs, the channels ask for money for sponsorship. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੰਗੇ, ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ 10 ਜੂਨ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਵਰੇਜ ਵੀ ਕਰੂਗੇ। ਸੋ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬ੍ਰੌਡਕਾਸਟ ਚੈਨਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਦਾਰੇ ਐਵੇਂ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲਦੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਚੈਨਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੋ, ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੋਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡੈਮੇਜ ਵੀ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਬਚਨ ਬਣਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਵੇਂ ਦੇ ਨਵੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰੈਸਿਵ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਸੋ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਹੁਣ 35 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਸਾਡੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਦੀ ਲੜਾਈ ਤਾਂ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਜਾਣੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਲੌਂਗ ਟਰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਨੈਟਵਰਕਸ ਗਲੋਬਲੀ ਬਣਾਉਣੀਆਂ ਪਊਗੀਆਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੋਗੀ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ the people who really don't do get their own house in order really don't stand a chance. So ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੋ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲਿਆਉਂਗੇ ਸਮੇਂ-ਸਮੇਂ। We'll actually get them to give actual advice for Sikh students online, on air, and we can even have call-ins as well, maybe how to pass your essay, something like that. So that's ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਮੇਂ-ਸਮੇਂ ਤੇ ਲਿਆ ਕੇ academics ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਦਿਓਗੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਹੈਲਥ ਐਡਵਾਈਸ ਕਰਦਾ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਦਾ। Thanks for coming down.
Taking the time out and coming down.
Thank you to
thanks to the channel. And we will see you again next week.
Definitely.
On another show. So ਬੋਲਦੇ ਦੇ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ।
ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਓ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।